All right, Reddit, buckle up because this one's a wild ride. It all started at my company's annual summer bash. I always dreaded these events, but this time, it turned out to be even worse than I could have ever imagined. Picture this: I am standing by the bar, nursing my third whiskey, trying to make small talk with Larry from accounting about his kids' soccer games. Out of the corner of my eye, I see my wife Jessica. She's wearing that red dress she knows I love, but she's not looking at me. She's with him. I should be known something was up when she insisted on coming to my work party, which she usually finds boring as hell. Jessica and I have been married for 8 years. No kids, just us. And lately, it's just been rocky. She's been distant, always on her phone, going out with her friends a lot more than usual. I tried talking to her about it, but she always brushed me off with some excuse. So there she is, chatting with this guy I've never seen before. Tall, dark hair, sharp suit. They're laughing, and she's got that flirtatious look in her eye. You know the one she used to give me. I'm trying to keep my cool, not make a scene, but then she sees me. She whispers something to the guy, and they both walk over. I feel my stomach drop. "Hey, honey," she says, way too cheerful. "This is Nick." Nick extends his hand, and I shake it, trying not to crush his fingers. "Nice to meet you," I say through gritted teeth. Then she drops the bomb. "Honey, I'm going away with him for a few days, so don't wait up for me." She smiles sweetly, but there's a glint in her eye. She's enjoying this. My mind is racing. Is she seriously doing this? Here? Now? I can see a few coworkers glancing our way, sensing the tension. I force a smile. "Sure, have fun." I look at Nick. Take good care of her. Inside, I am fuming, but I am not going to give her the satisfaction of a scene. Jessica gives me a kiss on the cheek, a quick, dismissive peck, and they walk away. As they leave, she turns back and says, "My friend will take care of you." That S when it hits me. I was prepared for something like this. I knew she was up to no good, so I had a plan. And now it is time to put it into action. I'll update you guys soon. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned. Part 2. The plan unfolds. So there I was, standing in the middle of this crowded company party, watching my wife saunter off with her lover like it was the most natural thing in the world. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm brewing inside me. Larry from accounting gave me a sympathetic nod, but I shrugged it off. I wasn't about to let Jessica's betrayal ruin my night. I had work to do. See, I'm not one to sit back and take crap from anyone, especially not my own wife. I've always had a knack for figuring things out, and Jessica's sudden change in behavior over the past few months had set off alarm bells. I suspected she was cheating, but I didn't have concrete proof until tonight, so I had taken precautions. Before the party, I hired a private investigator. It sounds cliché, I know, but I needed solid evidence before making any moves. And let me tell you, the guy delivered. Pictures, text messages, hotel receipts, the whole 9 yards. I had a file on Jessica that would make your head spin, but I wasn't going to confront her with it. No, that would be too easy. I wanted her to feel the same humiliation and betrayal I felt. So I devised a plan that was both cruel and, in my opinion, poetic. First, I made a quick phone call to my lawyer, Roger. He was on standby, waiting for the green light. "Roger, it's time," I said. "You know what to do." Next, I mingled through the party, putting on a good face, chatting with coworkers, and gathering any loose information I could. I made sure to avoid Jessica and Nick, who were cozied up in a corner, whispering and laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. After about an hour, I slipped out of the party and headed home. Jessica and Nick wouldn't be back for a few days, which was perfect for what I had planned. I spent the next few hours setting everything up. First, I emptied our joint bank accounts. All the money went into a new account in my name only. I left just enough to cover any immediate bills so it wouldn't raise suspicion. Jessica had her own account, but the bulk of our savings were in the joint one. Then I packed up all of her belongings. Clothes, shoes, makeup, everything went into boxes. I even threw in the little trinkets she loved to collect. By the time I was done, our bedroom looked like she'd never lived there. Lastly, I made a few more phone calls. One to our landlord, informing him that Jessica would be moving out and that she'd handle her half of the rent directly. Another to our utility companies, canceling services in her name. With everything set, I sat back and waited. It was going to be a long few days, but I had a feeling the payoff would be worth it. Hang tight, Reddit. This is just the setup. The real fun starts soon. I decided to take a few days off work under the pretense of needing some personal time. Thankfully, my boss, Susan, is pretty understanding and didn't ask too many questions. She probably sensed something was up from my demeanor at the party, but she respected my privacy, which I appreciated. Those first couple of days were a strange mix of anticipation and calm. It was like the eerie silence before a storm. I spent my time finalizing the details of my plan and making sure everything was in place for Jessica's return. I also made a few more preparations for the fallout, just in case things got really ugly. First, I contacted a locksmith. I wanted all the locks on the house changed. I didn't want Jessica walking back in as if nothing had happened. The locksmith, a burly guy named Joe, didn't ask many questions, but he did give me a knowing look. I guess he'd seen his fair share of drama. Next, I went through all the digital evidence the private investigator had gathered. There were hundreds of text messages between Jessica and Nick, and they were stomach-churning. Seeing her write things like, "I can wait to see you tonight," and "he'll never find out," made my blood boil. But it also steeled my resolve. I knew I was doing the right thing. Then there were the photos, pictures of them at restaurants and parks, even a few of them kissing in the car. It was like a knife to the gut. But it also gave me the evidence I needed. I made sure to save everything on a secure drive, just in case I needed it later. On the third day, I got a call from Roger, my lawyer. "Everything's set," he said. "The papers are ready for you to sign. We can file for divorce as soon as you give the word." "Thanks, Roger," I replied. "I'll come by your office tomorrow to sign them." I spent the rest of that day cleaning the house and making it look as uninviting as possible. I wanted Jessica to feel uncomfortable, like she was no longer welcome. I removed all the pictures of us together, leaving bare walls and empty spaces where our life once was. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello? Hey, it's Nick." His voice was casual, almost friendly, and it took all my willpower not to unleash my fury on him right then and there. "What do you want, Nick?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just wanted to give you a heads up. Jessica and I are coming back tomorrow. We need to talk." "Oh, we'll talk all right," I replied, my mind already racing with what I'd say to him. "See you then." The next day, I woke up early and headed to Roger's office. He had everything ready, and we went through the papers quickly. By the time I left, the divorce was essentially set in motion. All it needed was Jessica's signature, which I knew would be a fight, but I was ready for it. Back home, I made a final sweep of the house. Everything was in place. I sat down in the living room, waiting for them to arrive, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and anticipation. Around noon, I heard a car pull into the driveway. I peeked through the blinds and saw Jessica getting out of Nick's car. She looked different, happier, more carefree. It made me sick. Nick got out as well, looking every bit the smug bastard I remembered from the party. They walked up to the front door, and I waited until they tried the handle. It was locked, of course. Jessica looked confused and then annoyed. She knocked. I opened the door slowly, leaning against the frame. "Jessica, Nick, what a surprise." Jessica's eyes narrowed. "What's going on, David? Why are the locks changed?" "We need to talk," I said, stepping aside to let them in. They walked past me into the living room. I could see Jessica's eyes darting around, taking in the changes. The missing photos, the empty spaces, it all hit her at once. "Where is all my stuff?" she demanded. "It's packed up," I replied coolly. "You can take it with you when you leave." Nick stepped forward, trying to look tough. "Look, man, we just need to sort this out. There's no need for all this drama." I couldn't help but laugh. "Drama? You have no idea. Sit down, both of you." They reluctantly sat on the couch, and I took a seat opposite them. I pulled out the folder with all the evidence and placed it on the coffee table. "What is that?" Jessica asked, her voice wavering slightly. "This," I said, tapping the folder, "is everything I know about your little affair. Texts, photos, receipts, the whole lot." Jessica's face went pale, and Nick shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, but I could see the panic in her eyes. Save it, Jessica, I snapped. I've got everything I need to prove it, and I've already filed for divorce. Jessica's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Nick tried to jump in, but I held up a hand to silence him. You both made a fool out of me, I continued. But I'm not the fool here. I've got the upper hand now. Jessica finally found her voice. David, please. We can talk about this. I made a mistake. A mistake? I echoed. This wasn't a one-time thing, Jessica. You've been lying to me for months. She started to cry, but I didn't let it get to me. I stood up and walked to the front door. Take your stuff and get out. Both of you. Nick tried to protest. You can just kick us out like this. Oh, but I can, I replied, and I will. The divorce papers will be served soon. Until then, Jessica, you stay with him. You made your choice. Jessica stood, tears streaming down her face. David, please goodbye, Jessica, I said firmly, holding the door open. They left, and I watched them drive away. I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. The woman I loved for 8 years was gone, and with her, the life we built together. But I also felt a sense of justice. She betrayed me, and now she was paying the price. I knew the next few months would be tough, dealing with the legal fallout and rebuilding my life. But for now, I felt a strange sense of peace. I'd taken control of my life again, and that was something. Stay tuned, Reddit. The storm may have passed, but the aftermath is going to be one hell of a ride. All right, Reddit. So here is what happened after I kicked Jessica and Nick out. The next few days were a blur of emotions, paperwork, and planning for my new reality. I had to rebuild my life from the ground up, and I wasn't going to waste any time feeling sorry for myself. First, I called my close friends and family to let them know what was going on. I wanted to get ahead of any rumors and make sure they heard my side of the story first. Most of them were shocked but supportive. My best friend Mike even offered to come stay with me for a few days to help me get through the initial shock. David, man, I can't believe she did this to you, he said when he arrived. But you handled it like a boss. Now we just need to figure out the next steps. With Mike's help, I started tackling the mountain of paperwork involved in the divorce. Roger, my lawyer, was a godsend. He was thorough, efficient, and didn't let Jessica's legal team get away with any nonsense. It felt good to have someone in my corner who knew exactly what to do. One of the first things we tackled was the division of assets. Since I had all the evidence of Jessica's infidelity, the court was likely to be sympathetic to my case. Roger assured me that I had a strong position and that we could aim for a favorable settlement. Meanwhile, I focused on getting the house back in order. It was strange at first, living alone in a place that used to be filled with memories of our life together, but I decided to make it my own. I redecorated, bought some new furniture, and even started a small renovation project to make the space feel fresh and new. About a week after the showdown, I got a call from Jessica. I debated whether to answer, but ultimately decided to hear what she had to say. David, she began, her voice trembling, I am so sorry. I never meant for it to get this far. I sighed, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Jessica, you made your choices. Now we both have to live with them. Can we at least talk about the house? She pleaded. I have nowhere else to go. That is not my problem anymore, I replied firmly. You chose to leave. Now you have to deal with the consequences. She started crying, but I couldn't let myself feel pity. I ended the call and blocked her number. It was time to focus on my own healing and future. Over the next few weeks, things slowly started to stabilize. Work was a welcome distraction, and my colleagues were supportive, though discreet about the situation. Susan, my boss, even pulled me aside one day to check on me. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask, she said kindly. Take the time you need to get through this. I nodded, grateful for her understanding. Thanks, Susan. I am doing better, just taking it one day at a time. One unexpected but welcome development was the support from my coworkers. Apparently, news of Jessica's public betrayal had spread, and people I barely knew were coming up to offer their sympathies and support. It was nice to feel like I wasn't alone. One evening, Mike and I were sitting in the living room, having a few beers and talking about the future. You know, Mike said, you should think about getting back out there. I know it is soon, but you can let her keep you from living your life. I laughed, shaking my head. I don't know if I am ready for that yet, Mike. I need some time to process everything. Sure, but don't wait too long, he advised. You deserve to be happy, man. His words stuck with me. I wasn't in any rush, but the idea of moving on and finding happiness again didn't seem as impossible as it had a few weeks ago. A couple of months passed, and the divorce proceedings were in full swing. Roger was confident we'd get a favorable settlement, but Jessica's lawyer was fighting hard. It was draining, but I knew I had to stay strong. One day I received an unexpected email. It was from Nick. My first instinct was to delete it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it and began to read. David, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say this. I am sorry for what happened. I didn't realize how much pain this would cause, and I regret getting involved. Jessica and I are no longer together. She's a mess, and I don't think she ever truly knew what she wanted. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I needed to apologize. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday. Nick. I stared at the email, feeling a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, but also a strange sense of closure. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. Life continued to move forward. I threw myself into work, hobbies, and spending time with friends. I even started seeing a therapist to help me process everything and make sure I was taking care of my mental health. Then, one day, I met someone. Her name was Emily, and she worked in a different department at my company. We started talking at a work event, and there was an instant connection. She was kind, intelligent, and had a sense of humor that matched mine perfectly. We began dating slowly, taking our time to get to know each other. I was honest with her about my past, and she was understanding and supportive. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. The divorce was finalized a few months later. Roger had secured a fair settlement, and I was able to keep the house. Jessica didn't contest it in the end, probably realizing she had little chance of winning. Looking back, I realized that as painful as the experience had been, it had also made me stronger. I learned a lot about myself, about resilience, and about the importance of not letting others define my worth. Emily and I continued to grow closer, and eventually I asked her to move in with me. It felt like a new chapter, a chance to build something beautiful out of the ashes of the past. So Reddit, that is my story. It has been a hell of a journey, but I came out the other side stronger and wiser. If there's one thing I've learned, it is that life goes on, and sometimes the best revenge is simply living well and finding happiness again. Thanks for following along. I'll be here if anyone has questions or needs advice. Stay strong, everyone. All right, Reddit, here's the latest on my journey. After the chaos and heartache, things started to take a turn for the better. Emily moving in was a huge step, and it felt like a fresh start in every sense. But life, as always, had more surprises in store. Settling into a new routine with Emily was easier than I expected. She brought a sense of calm and positivity that was refreshing after the turmoil I'd been through. We redecorated the house together, making it truly ours. It was no longer a place filled with memories of Jessica. It was a home where new, happier memories were being created. One weekend, Emily suggested we take a short trip to a nearby town. It was her way of helping me disconnect from the past and focus on our future. We spent those days exploring new places, trying out local cuisine, and just enjoying each other's company. It felt liberating to be able to relax and have fun without any lingering shadows. On the last night of our trip, we were sitting by a bonfire on the beach, talking about everything and nothing. Emily looked at me, her eyes reflecting the firelight, and said, "David, I'm really happy we found each other. I know you've been through a lot, and I want you to know that I am here for you no matter what." Her words struck a chord deep within me. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly understood and supported. Emily, I am grateful for you too. You've brought light back into my life. I can't imagine going through this without you. We sat there in comfortable silence for a while, just watching the waves crash against the shore. It was a moment of peace and contentment that I'd been longing for. When we returned home, I received an unexpected message from Jessica's lawyer. Apparently, Jessica wanted to meet and discuss some unresolved issues. My first reaction was to refuse outright, but Emily encouraged me to go, saying it might provide some closure. I agreed, albeit reluctantly, and arranged to meet Jessica at a neutral location, a small cafe downtown. When I arrived, she was already there, looking nervous and a little lost. It was a stark contrast to the confident, carefree woman who had left with Nick months ago. "David," she began, her voice shaky, "thank you for meeting me." I nodded, taking a seat opposite her. "What do you want to talk about, Jessica?" She took a deep breath. "I owe you an apology. I know I have hurt you deeply, and I can undo that. But I need you to know that I regret everything. Nick and it was a mistake. He left me, and I am trying to pick up the pieces of my life." Her admission brought a pang of sadness. Despite everything, a part of me had loved her deeply, and seeing her like this wasn't easy, but I knew that I couldn't let myself be dragged back into her drama. "I appreciate the apology, Jessica," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "But we have both moved on. I have started a new chapter in my life, and I am happy. I hope you can find your own path and learn from this." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I understand. I just needed to say it. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday." I stood up, signaling the end of our conversation. "Take care, Jessica. I wish you the best." Walking away from that cafe, I felt a sense of finality. The chapter with Jessica was truly closed, and I could move forward without any lingering doubts or regrets. Back home, Emily was waiting for me. I told her about the meeting, and she listened patiently, offering comfort and reassurance. "You did the right thing, David. It is important to close those doors so you can fully embrace the future." As the months passed, Emily and I continued to build our life together. We traveled, made new friends, and even adopted a rescue dog named Max. He brought an extra dose of joy and energy into our home, reminding us daily of the simple pleasures in life. One day, Emily surprised me with a proposal of sorts. "David, how would you feel about starting a business together? I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think we'd make a great team." Her idea was to open a small cafe and bookstore, combining her love for baking and my passion for literature. It was a bold move, but the thought of building something together excited me. "Let us do it," I said, feeling a surge of enthusiasm. "Let us create something amazing." We spent the next few months planning, finding the perfect location, and pouring our hearts into every detail. The day we opened our doors, it felt like a dream come true. The cafe was cozy and welcoming, filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the sound of pages turning. Our venture quickly became a community favorite, and the support we received was overwhelming. It wasn't just a business, it was a symbol of our journey and resilience. One evening, as we were closing up, Emily took my hand and led me to a corner of the cafe where we had set up a small reading nook. "David, this place is everything I dreamed of and more. I'm so glad we took this leap together." I pulled her into a hug, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. "Me too, Emily. This is just the beginning. There's so much more ahead for us." And so, Reddit, that S, where I am now running a successful business with the woman who helped me rebuild my life, surrounded by a community that embraced us, and looking forward to whatever the future holds. If there is one thing I've learned, it is that life has a way of surprising you, often when you least expect it. Stay strong, keep moving forward, and never lose hope. The best is yet to come. Hey Reddit, it's been a while since my last update. A lot has happened since then, and I am here to share the next chapter of this roller coaster journey. Just when I thought life was finally settling into a new normal, it threw a few more curveballs my way. The cafe and bookstore, aptly named Chapter 2, became more successful than Emily and I had anticipated. We quickly gained a loyal customer base, and it wasn't long before we needed to hire additional staff to keep up with the demand. It was a great problem to have, but it came with its own set of challenges. One day, while Emily was experimenting with new pastry recipes in the kitchen, I was handling the front of the house. I noticed a familiar face walk in, Jessica. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't seen her since our meeting at the cafe months ago, and I certainly wasn't expecting her to show up at my place of business. She looked around nervously before spotting me. Our eyes met, and I could see the apprehension in hers. I took a deep breath and walked over to her. "Jessica, what are you doing here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I heard about the calf and wanted to see it for myself," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean to intrude. I glanced around the busy calf, considering my options. This was a place of business, and I didn't want any drama here. "All right, come with me," I said, leading her to a quiet corner away from the other customers. We sat down, and I could see she was struggling to find the right words. "David, I am really sorry for showing up like this. I wanted to congratulate you. This place is amazing. You've done something really special here." Her compliment caught me off guard, but I appreciated it nonetheless. "Thank you, Jessica. We've worked hard to build this." She nodded, looking down at her hands. "I also wanted to apologize again for everything. I have been working on myself, trying to understand my mistakes and grow from them. I know I hurt you deeply, and I am truly sorry." I could see the sincerity in her eyes, and while a part of me still held on to the pain, I also felt a sense of closure. "Jessica, I appreciate your apology. We have both moved on, and I think it is best if we keep it that way. I wish you well in your journey." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, David. I hope you and Emily continue to find happiness." With that, she left the calf, and I watched her go, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. It was another door closing, but it allowed me to focus fully on my new life with Emily. Later that evening, I told Emily about Jessica's visit. She listened attentively, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think she'll come back?" she asked. "I don't think so," I replied. "I think she just needed to see that I am okay and to apologize. It's closure for both of us." Emily nodded, squeezing my hand. "I'm glad you got that closure, David. It's important." As we continued to grow our business, we faced new challenges, like balancing our personal and professional lives. Running a business together meant we spent a lot of time working, and it was easy to let that overshadow our relationship. We made a conscious effort to carve out time for ourselves, to go on dates, and to keep the romance alive. One night, while we were having dinner at our favorite restaurant, Emily looked at me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "David, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, what's that?" She took a deep breath, her cheeks flushing slightly. "I've been thinking about our future. I know we've both been through a lot, but I feel like we are ready for the next step. I want to start a family with you." Her words took me by surprise, but in the best way possible. I'd been so focused on rebuilding my life and our business that I hadn't thought much about the future beyond that. But the idea of starting a family with Emily filled me with a sense of joy and excitement. "I want that too, Emily," I said, taking her hand in mine. "I can't imagine a better person to build a future with." We spent the rest of the evening discussing our hopes and dreams for the future, from starting a family to expanding our business. It was a night filled with love and optimism, and I went to bed feeling like the luckiest man in the world. A few weeks later, Emily surprised me with more news. "David, I've been working on something special," she said one morning, handing me a small envelope. I opened it to find a positive pregnancy test. My heart soared. "Emily, this is amazing," I exclaimed, pulling her into a hug. "We're going to be parents," she whispered, tears of joy streaming down her face. The months that followed were a whirlwind of preparations for our new arrival. We turned one of the spare rooms into a nursery, attended prenatal classes, and read every book we could find on parenting. It was an exciting and slightly overwhelming time, but we faced it together with enthusiasm and love. As Emily's due date approached, we also hired a manager to help run the calf, ensuring we have time to focus on our growing family. The business continued to thrive, and our loyal customers were thrilled to hear about our baby on the way. The day Emily went into labor was both nerve-wracking and exhilarating. We rushed to the hospital, and after several hours of intense labor, our beautiful baby girl, Lily, was born. Holding her in my arms for the first time was an indescribable feeling. She was perfect, and I knew then that all the pain and struggles we'd been through had led us to this incredible moment. Bringing Lily home was an adjustment, but we quickly settled into a new routine. Our home was filled with the sounds of laughter, baby cries, and the warmth of a loving family. It was everything I had ever wanted and more. One afternoon while Lily was napping, Emily and I sat on the porch, reflecting on our journey. "We've come a long way," she said, resting her head on my shoulder. "We have," I agreed, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "And I wouldn't change a thing. Every challenge, every heartbreak led us to this moment." Emily smiled, squeezing my hand. "Here's to our new beginning and whatever adventures lie ahead. So, Reddit, that is the latest chapter of my life. It has been a journey filled with ups and downs, but I've learned that resilience, love, and a bit of luck can turn even the darkest times into something beautiful. Thanks for following along, and I'll keep you posted on our adventures as we navigate this crazy, wonderful thing called life." Hey Reddit, I am back with another update. This one is not as long, but it is pretty significant. Life has a funny way of throwing unexpected opportunities your way, and this one caught me completely off guard. A few months after Lily was born, Emily and I were settling into our new roles as parents. The calf was running smoothly thanks to our new manager, and we were finally finding a balance between work and family life. One morning, while I was making breakfast, I received a call from an old college friend, Jake. We hadn't spoken in years, so I was curious to hear from him. "David, it's been too long," Jake exclaimed. "I've been following your calf's success on social media." "Congratulations, man." "Thanks, Jake." "It has been quite a journey," I replied. "What is new with you?" "Well, I've been working on a startup, and we are at the point where we need a solid investor and partner to help us take it to the next level." "I thought of you immediately," he said. I was intrigued. "Tell me more." Jake explained that his startup was focused on developing sustainable packaging solutions for small businesses. It was an innovative idea, and given my experience with the calf, I could see the potential. He invited me to come check out their operations and discuss the possibility of joining forces. After talking it over with Emily, we decided it was worth exploring. I took a day off and visited Jake's startup. What I saw impressed me: a dedicated team, a clear vision, and a product that could make a real difference. "David, we could really use your business acumen and experience," Jake said. "Plus, with your calf as a case study, we can demonstrate the real-world application of our products." I thought about it for a moment. It was a big step, but it also felt like a natural progression. "I am in," I said, shaking his hand. "Let's do this." Over the next few weeks, we worked out the details of the partnership. I invested in the startup and took on an advisory role, helping them navigate the business side of things. It was exciting to be part of something innovative and impactful. Balancing the new venture with the calf and family life was challenging, but Emily's support was unwavering. "This is a great opportunity, David," she said. "I believe in you." With her encouragement, I dove into the new project, and before long, we started seeing incredible results. The startup gained traction, and our sustainable packaging solutions were being adopted by small businesses across the region. Life was busier than ever, but it was also incredibly fulfilling. We were making a positive impact on the environment, growing our businesses, and raising our beautiful daughter. So, Reddit, that is the latest. Sometimes the best opportunities come when you least expect them. Stay open to new possibilities, and you never know where they might lead. I'll keep you posted on how this new venture progresses. Until next time, hey Reddit, I am back with another update. Just when I thought things were finally settling into a smooth rhythm, life decided to throw another curveball my way. This one came from the past, reopening wounds I thought had healed. Our new venture was doing great. The startup was gaining momentum, and our sustainable packaging solutions were receiving positive feedback. Emily and I were juggling our busy schedules, but still making time for each other and for Lily. Everything seemed to be going well. Then one afternoon I received an unexpected message on LinkedIn. It was from Nick. Yes, that Nick. "David, I hope you're doing well. I know it has been a while, but I need to talk to you about something important. Can we meet?" My initial reaction was to ignore it. The last thing I wanted was to reopen that chapter of my life. But curiosity got the better of me, and after discussing it with Emily, I decided to hear him out. We agreed to meet at a local coffee shop. When I arrived, Nick was already there, looking nervous. He stood up as I approached and extended his hand. "David, thanks for meeting me." I shook his hand and sat down, keeping my expression neutral. "What do you want, Nick?" He took a deep breath. "First, I want to apologize again for everything. I know I've already said it, but I need you to know I'm genuinely sorry for the pain I caused. I nodded, not wanting to dwell on the past. Okay, what's this about? Nick looked around, then leaned in closer. It's about Jessica. She is in trouble, David. Serious trouble. My heart sank, but I kept my face impassive. What kind of trouble? She's gotten involved with some dangerous people, he explained, his voice trembling. After we split up, she fell in with a bad crowd. Drugs, debts, it is a mess. And now she is in way over her head. I didn't know who else to turn to. I thought you might be able to help. I was silent for a moment, processing the information. Part of me wanted to walk away and let Jessica deal with the consequences of her actions, but another part of me, the part that had once loved her, felt a pang of concern. Why should I help her? I asked finally. She made her choices. Nick nodded, looking defeated. I know, and I don't blame you if you decide not to. But she is in danger, David, real danger. I just thought you should know. I sat back, feeling the weight of the situation. I had moved on, built a new life, and found happiness with Emily. But Jessica's plight tugged at my conscience. I'll think about it, I said, standing up. But I can't make any promises. Nick looked relieved. Thank you, that's all I can ask. As I drove home, my mind was racing. I needed to talk to Emily about this. She had been my rock through everything, and I valued her perspective. When I walked in the door, Emily was playing with Lily in the living room. She looked up and smiled. Hey, how did it go? I sat down beside her, taking a deep breath. Nick S. in town. He says Jessica S. in trouble. Serious trouble. Emily S.'s smile faded as she listened to my account of the meeting. When I finished, she was silent for a moment, thinking. David, it is a tough situation, she said finally. I understand your reluctance, but if she's truly in danger, maybe we should at least find out more. We don't have to get involved, but knowing the full extent of the situation might help you decide what to do. Her words made sense. All right, I'll reach out to a few contacts and see what I can find out. Over the next few days, I made some discreet inquiries. What I discovered confirmed Nick S.'s story. Jessica was indeed in deep trouble with some dangerous people, and her life was at risk. One evening, as Emily and I were discussing our next steps, I received a frantic call from Nick. David, they've taken her. I don't know what to do. My heart pounded in my chest. Where are you? He gave me an address, and without hesitation I grabbed my keys. Emily stood by the door, her expression a mix of concern and determination. I am coming with you, she said firmly. We drove to the address Nick had given me, a rundown building in a rough part of town. Nick was waiting outside, looking terrified. They are inside, he said. I don't know what they're planning, but it's bad. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Stay here with Emily. I'll see what I can do. I entered the building, my heart racing. The place was dark and smelled of decay. I could hear muffled voices coming from a room down the hall. As I approached, I saw two men standing guard outside the door. I stepped forward, trying to appear confident. I am here to see Jessica, I said firmly. The men looked at each other, then back at me. Who the hell are you? Her husband, I replied, using the term loosely. And I am not leaving without her. They exchanged another glance. Then one of them motioned for me to follow. He led me into the room where Jessica was being held. She looked disheveled and scared, but unharmed. David, she whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. I nodded, my resolve strengthening. We're getting you out of here. Negotiations were tense, but eventually we reached an agreement. I managed to secure Jessica's release, but it came at a price. I had to promise them a significant sum of money to cover her debts. It wasn't an ideal solution, but it was the best I could do in the moment. As we left the building, Jessica clung to my arm, her tears falling freely. Thank you, David. I don't deserve your help, but thank you. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Emily and Nick were waiting outside, and the relief on their faces was palpable. We took Jessica to a safe place, and over the next few days, we helped her get back on her feet. It wasn't too easy, and there were many difficult conversations, but slowly, she began to rebuild her life. Emily and I continued to support her from a distance, but our focus remained on our own family and business. The experience had reminded me of the importance of compassion and forgiveness, even when it is difficult. So, Reddit, that S where we are now. Life keeps throwing challenges our way, but with Emily by my side, I know we can handle anything. Thanks for following along, and I'll keep you posted on any new developments. Until next time, hey, Reddit, this will be my last update for a while. As always, life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Just as we thought everything was finally settling into place, another unexpected event threw us for a loop. The second calf was a hit from the start. Customers loved the new location, and we were thrilled with the positive feedback. Our lives were busy but fulfilling, juggling the demands of 2 businesses and raising Lily. Everything seemed perfect. Then, one evening, while we were closing up the new calf, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from a law firm. Curious and a bit apprehensive, I opened it. Dear Mr. David, we are writing to inform you of the passing of Mr. Thomas Richardson. In his will, he named you as a beneficiary of a significant inheritance. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to discuss the details and arrange for the transfer of assets. I was stunned. Thomas Richardson was my estranged uncle, someone I hadn't seen or heard from in years. We had a falling out when I was younger, and I never expected to hear from him again, let alone be included in his will. Emily looked at me, concern etched on her face. What's wrong, David? I handed her my phone, and she read the email. Wow, this is unexpected. What are you going to do? I guess I need to find out what this is all about, I said, still processing the news. The next day, I called the law firm and arranged a meeting. Emily came with me for support, and we sat down with the attorney to go over the details. It turned out that my uncle had left me a substantial amount of money and a property in the countryside. I don't understand why he would do this, I said, bewildered. The attorney shrugged. According to the will, he wanted to make amends and ensure that his family was taken care of. He expressed regret over the estrangement and hoped this gesture would bring some peace. It was a lot to take in. As we drove back home, Emily and I discussed our options. The inheritance could provide financial security and new opportunities, but it also came with emotional baggage. David, I think this could be a chance to turn something negative into something positive, Emily said thoughtfully. We could use the money to expand our businesses further or invest in something meaningful. And maybe the property could be a retreat for our family, a place to relax and make new memories. Her perspective made sense. Over the next few weeks, we explored the possibilities. We visited the property, a charming old farmhouse surrounded by acres of beautiful countryside. It needed some work, but we saw the potential for it to become a family retreat and perhaps even a venue for events. With the inheritance, we decided to renovate the farmhouse and create a getaway where we could unwind and spend quality time together. We also invested a portion of the money into our startup and calf business, ensuring their continued growth and success. As we worked on the farmhouse, we discovered old letters and photographs that shed light on my Uncle S.'s life and his regrets. It was a bittersweet process, but it helped me come to terms with the past and find some closure. Months later, the farmhouse was transformed into a beautiful retreat. We invited friends and family to celebrate, and the atmosphere was filled with joy and laughter. It felt like a new chapter, one that honored the past while embracing the future. Emily and I stood on the porch, watching Lily play with Max in the yard. We have come a long way, she said, smiling. We have, I agreed, wrapping my arm around her, and I couldn't have done it without you. As the sun set over the countryside, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Life had thrown us many challenges, but together, we had faced them all and come out stronger. So Reddit, that's the end of this chapter of our story. Life is unpredictable, full of twists and turns, but with resilience, love, and support, we can navigate through anything. Thanks for following along, and remember, the best is always yet to come. Until next time.